Okay. So a little bit about me. Exactly a year ago today, I realized I did a really crazy thing for me, which was that I went to the owner of the company that I was working for, and it was a place that I really enjoyed working for and people that I really loved working for. And even though they had really taken a huge chance on me, I said that I needed to leave the company and start my own business. So that was a pretty difficult thing for me to do. Up until that point, I had been working for the Indiana Gazette as an obituaries writer, and that's a job that actually came about because Bill left the Gazette and they needed to fill his position with some new people. So in my few years there, I was promoted to become the newspaper's first digital media coordinator, where I worked primarily with the website and managing social media for the newspaper. And then eventually was part of the team that launched the newspaper's digital media division, which is a move that a lot of newspapers started making a few years ago to kind of make up for a lack of ad revenue in print. So many newspapers, especially in Pennsylvania, started launching digital agency divisions where they provide social media services, website development, and digital advertising to make up for that lost revenue. So I managed that division on behalf of them. And in my time there, I had applied to tons of jobs, and I was even offered a few of them, and I always seemed to talk myself out of taking them for some reason, and things just never felt quite right. So I want to back up for a second. I want to add here that if you're pursuing a field in journalism or digital media or public relations marketing, you should always try to work at a newspaper at some point. And I think Bill can attest to that. It teaches you a lot of unique skills that you won't get in any other job. So even if you just do 2 years at a newspaper, you're going to learn about crazy deadlines and waking up at 6 in the morning and putting out an entire 32-page paper by 10 in the morning. Working together sometimes too closely with members of your team. Sometimes you want to wring their neck, and learning to use criticism of your work to really better your work, because in a 6 or 4 hour period that you're writing for a daily newspaper, you don't have a lot of time to be upset about the things that are said to you. There we go. So on New Year's Eve, while I was working the night shift, this was New Year's Eve of 2016 going into 17, I was really kind of hating life a little bit. I was one of 3 people that was stuck working there on New Year's Eve, which is a real problem besides the low pay of a newspaper. And I realized that I didn't want to take any of those jobs that were offered to me because I kind of wanted to live life on my own terms and just kind of do something for myself rather than work for somebody. So in the coming weeks, things moved really fast. I went to the publisher of the newspaper 1 year ago today, and I told them that I was leaving. I said I hired a lawyer that week to help me do all of the paperwork involved with starting a business. I put in my 2 weeks notice. I created a website for my business. I put together all of my packages and my strategies and things like that. Put together business cards, brochures, anything that you could think of. And on March 1st, my business officially launched. And somewhere in there, I moved from Indiana, PA to Bellefonte. And to add to the craziness, I started a master's degree on April 1st as well. So Hello Social is different from other social media agencies in that my focus is completely on small local businesses. So a lot of social media agencies work primarily with their clientele online, so they don't ever really need to meet with them in person. A lot of it's done over email or over Google Hangouts, things like that. But what I found when I was working for that larger digital agency was that I had very little interest in strategy for companies that had really big budgets because things didn't matter to them. They would throw money at different campaigns, and if it didn't work well, they didn't care. They just wanted to keep throwing money at things. And as somebody that comes from a family of entrepreneurs, I'm really most passionate about helping small businesses that in many cases don't have a huge budget and need to grow mostly organically online. But also, even though these people have really low budgets and sometimes have no idea what they're doing when it comes to marketing, they have a great story to tell, and they really just have no idea how to tell it. They need somebody to help them do that, at least online. And something that a lot of people don't realize about the digital age that we live in is that shopping online drastically hurts a lot of small businesses. So businesses like in downtown State College and in downtown Bellefonte and a lot of communities around us, businesses are really hurting because people are shopping online. And I order pretty much everything on Amazon, so I can't say anything about that really, but it's my job to kind of help people convince themselves that they want to shop at these small businesses. So I offer 3 main services, and this is actually something that I really honed in on the past few weeks here. When I first started my business, I honestly was afraid of not making any money. So I said, okay, I have all of these skills. I can copyright, I can write press releases, I can build websites, I can do anything that you need me to do because I'm afraid of living in a box. So, this past year went really well, and I realized that I don't need to offer services that I'm not really interested in offering just because I need to make money. So in the past couple of weeks, I have really honed in on what makes my business special, and that is my social media management service, where we completely take on a client's social media accounts and manage them on their behalf. And then social media advertising, where we don't manage their accounts for them, but we help them generate leads or sales using their social media accounts. Or social media strategy sessions, where somebody can either call me on Google Hangouts or set up a one-on-one meeting with me in person, and we just sit together for an hour and talk about their business and what makes them special and what they can do for their social media strategy. Most of my clients are social media management clients. Right now I'm managing a total of 65 social media profiles, and most of my clients have me manage both Facebook and Instagram on behalf of them. A lot of my clients don't find that they want to use Snapchat or, a little bit out of the box services because they are afraid of dedicating the time to doing things like that right now. Usually these businesses, it's either 1 or 2 people, often a husband and wife that, want to see their kids at some point during the day. One question I always get when I'm talking about my job is, how do I manage all these accounts? And the answer is with some pretty intense organizational methods. I have 2 members of my team, and we use Google Sheets to write all of the copy for our clients' accounts. So, every single day I have them do what's called a creative writing session, where they sit for 30 minutes and they only write for one account. If that kind of prevents them from having a creative block, where they're just writing, they're not worrying about what the images that go with the posts are, they're not worrying about what the links that go with the posts are, they're just writing and trying to figure out what's best for that particular client from a copy standpoint. And then we go in and we use Google Hangouts, which you can see here, then we use Hootsuite, which you can see here, to kind of schedule all of our posts and monitor what's happening with all of our clients' accounts. And another tool that I use is Google Notes a lot. We ship each other hashtags that are trending and things like that through Google Notes. Hootsuite allows me to schedule posts in advance, but it also allows me to be pretty creepy and see what's happening around the area. And I'm not going to get too into detail on this because I heard 5 minutes ago that you're all taking your Hootsuite certification. And I actually did that. I took my first Hootsuite certification course when I was an intern at IUP managing their social media accounts. So that's really how I got my start in this whole business. Managing the accounts takes a lot of discipline and use of the tools properly. I want to talk a little bit about social media strategy, and I don't want you guys to feel insulted by anything I say because I never know what people's levels of social media strategy understanding are. I don't have a huge background on what your class is, but so for each of my clients, I take almost a full day on when they start their contract to begin their social media strategy. And that involves either sitting down in person with them or via or virtually and talking about why they started their business. And that's what's most important to me is, why they decided that this was what they wanted to do for the rest of their life. We also talk about what their goals are for social media and what their accounts are that they're already using, if they are already using some. And in small towns like Bellefonte and some of the little towns that are surrounding State College, there's not a lot of businesses that are using social media at this point still. And then we figure out what their priorities for their business are. An example is one of my clients, which is Reynolds Mansion Bed and Breakfast in Bellefonte. When I first met with the owners of the mansion, we determined 3 main goals for their account, and those were to grow their followers, to book more rooms, and for people to be more actively engaged on their Facebook account. And in all of these cases, content is our main priority as a social media manager. So showcasing good content on social media, and by doing that, we're able to grow the page and convince people that they want to stay at the mansion. We meet some of those goals by, first of all, keeping it personal. And that is kind of my mantra with everything that we do on social media, is keeping it personal. Especially for small business owners, what's going to really sell their business to other people is knowing the face that's behind the business. So, research has shown that people do buy from brands that they recognize and have gotten to know, even if they don't know them on a super personal level, but have seen them on social media. We also create posts that allow people to picture themselves enjoying time at the mansion, or by promoting special events or discounts that the mansion is offering during a set period of time. Since we started managing the account in May of last year, their followers have grown by more than 3,000. And in 2017, the owners reported that their room bookings were up by more than triple. So these guys were actually a little annoyed with me because they had to cancel their family vacation this summer because they got too many bookings at the mansion, so they couldn't close. And this is a super cheesy video. I never know how to open these. I swear this is the cheesiest video that you're ever going to see, and it's a super amateur video that I did on my own, but people loved it. So this was something that people loved from the mansion. Oh. The lighting is awful. I know, you don't have to tell me.
Que ne s'égare les beaux jours sans regret de notre histoire, et dans tes grands yeux bleus qui font rêver les cieux, il y a, oui, ma foi, rien que deux. Tes baisers déposer ton regard sur mon cœur et ma bouche d'ivoire, et dans tes grands...
All right, I won't torture you with that music anymore. But so, what makes this video unique is that I actually usually hire somebody to do all of my videos because, as you can see, I am not very good at it. I used a tool called Magisto to put this together, and that's a fairly new tool that is made for people like me that don't have any video editing experience. And it just kind of, this was probably 15 different video files that I threw in there, and it created it for me. It added the music, added the effects and everything. So this video is unique in that I didn't try very hard on it, but for some reason it had more than almost 3,000 views, and that week that we posted it, they got 72 room bookings for the year. So Facebook's algorithm really favors video, and this video that isn't very great goes to show that.
great thumbnail on that, which I think was probably really important too.
Right, yeah. So the part of Facebook's, can't think of the word of it, interface, is that you can choose a thumbnail for all the videos that you upload on it, and making sure that you have a really engaging photo when you do upload the video is really helpful in who will see it, because this is the photo that makes people stop scrolling on their news feeds to check it out. So, what makes a good post? At Hello Social, we define a good post as having the following, which is an engaging, high-quality image. You would be really blown away at the number of clients I have that just take images off of Google and try to use them, which is super illegal. Don't do that. Clear copy that grabs the reader's attention. So, honing in on your writing skills is really going to be one of the most important things you can do if you enter a field like this, because when it comes down to it, nobody is ever going to buy from a brand that doesn't have copy that really engages the user. And then also a clear call to action. So, after that video ended, we said, come stay with us soon at Reynolds Mansion. And that was the call to action for users to go to their website and book a room. And we always try to use posts that resonate with our clients' users. So after about a month of managing their accounts, we go through and we look at the analytics for the accounts and we say, okay, video performed best on their page, which is pretty typical. In some cases it's photos, some cases it's video, but we always look at that and see what was most successful for that particular client. We talk a lot about hashtags with our clients and the use of them. Reynolds Mansion, they actually have an Instagram account that we don't manage, and all they do is post hashtags on it. They don't use any copy on it. They just say hashtag Victorian tea, hashtag bed and breakfast, and that's not really effective for them. So we talk about how you should never use more than 1 to 3 hashtags on Facebook, because personally I think hashtags on Facebook are the worst thing in the universe, but they do work every once in a while, and they should be used sparingly. And Facebook posts that don't have hashtags always outperform those that do. However, on Instagram, the algorithm is totally based on hashtags, and posts with more than 11 hashtags perform better than those with a fewer number. So what I suggest is always putting together a file that's easily accessible, and that's what I said I use Google Notes for. And put together 20 to 30 hashtags that you think that an audience can relate to, but consider them with each post. So, I have one client that I have probably 40 different hashtags on. The client is a State College client that owns a custom framing company, but also has an art gallery in his space. So depending on what the post is regarding, we'll change the hashtag campaign to be more directed towards the art gallery or more directed towards the custom framing business. So something that's pretty awful about being a business owner is that awkward moment when you lose your first client. And that was kind of tough for me because, I was in business for almost a year before I lost my first client. I just lost my first client actually this month, just a few weeks ago. And that was totally as a result of me. So, something that we do when we start a client's social media account is we do these strategy sessions where we spend usually a few hours working with a client, figuring out what their goals are, figuring out where their page should go. But this client's contract was starting January 1st, and between the holidays and travel schedules and things like that, we somehow didn't ever get to connect for our strategy call. So I kind of winged it. Their contract was starting January 1st, and I didn't want them to be paying for something and not getting a service out of it. So I decided to put posts on their page anyway and would try to schedule the call for later in January. And they just were not on the same page about what I was posting at all. So they asked to part ways, and I had to let them do it. Normally a contract breach like that I wouldn't let happen, but it was totally my fault. So, that was a major learning point as a small business owner, as a new business owner, is kind of what your expectations are from your clients, and that they don't care that it's Christmas. You've got to get stuff done. I think this slide was supposed to come before, but something that's really difficult about this job, but also kind of exciting, is that social media is always changing. So at the beginning of this month, Facebook announced algorithm changes that hurt small businesses more than they hurt any other pages on Facebook. And that's because small businesses tend to have low numbers of likes and lower engagement and things like that. So this meant that my team and I really had to sit down and re-strategize what we were going to do for every 65 accounts, for all of the 65 accounts that we're managing. And something that I really had to adapt to was using Facebook Live, which, as you can see, I'm not really great at public speaking, so just sitting on my computer and talking was not ideal for me. But I knew I had to do it to have my business grow. So this is actually a screenshot of my first Facebook Live ever last week. And, a few hundred people watched it. People were really excited about it. So I would say that it was a pretty successful first one. But now I need to figure out how to implement Facebook Live and other features like that into my clients' social media strategy. And, that involves going to my clients' businesses and getting them on camera and things like that, which, when you have 65 accounts, that's a lot of time. Other updates that we have to teach clients how to use right now are using Instagram stories for their business. And because we can't be at their business all the time, we're constantly encouraging them to send us behind the scenes photos and having them help us show off what's going on at their business without having to physically be there. So that is what I have. I'm hoping that you guys have some questions. Great. Sure.
What algorithm on Facebook is hurting small businesses?
It's just, in general, they changed the way that news feeds are showing posts. So when you log into your Facebook account, 3 months ago, you would see posts based on what pages you most actively engaged with, and and family members and friends that you most actively engage with. But now they're really making a push towards making it more family and friends oriented. So businesses that you might have engaged with in the past, they are not necessarily showing you those posts now and pushing your friends and family above them. And something that I just kind of had a crash course with all of my clients for was making sure that they're publishing on their page the See First button on Facebook. So if you go into a page's settings, there's a follow button, and you can ask your followers to follow first. And then every time you log in, it'll show up first on your page or on your newsfeed. Yeah.
So how big is your team? Because compared to other small kind of PR businesses, 65 clients seems like a lot to me.
It is a lot. Yeah, there's 3 of us. So when I was working for the digital agency in Indiana, PA, I actually had 75 accounts, and that was just me. So I really learned how to really structure my time and really organize what we're doing. And now the difference between working for a large digital agency and working for my own business is that I had a lot more resources there. So, I could spend their money, and I could use their designer, and I could use their photographers. But now I'm required to do all of that stuff myself. So I have 2 team members. One is actually a Penn State student that works with me part-time. And then another was my assistant at the digital agency in Indiana, and she works with me remotely. So I kind of am the face of the company in that I go and I speak with all my clients, and I go and I'm taking photos at their businesses. But then I kind of hand all of that off to Lydia and Melanie to write the messaging. And then when they have finished filling out their Google Sheets for the day, at the end of the day, I just read through every single thing that they've written and decide if it's a good fit for that client or not. Yeah.
How do you market yourself to get clients?
That's a a good question. I am not great at marketing myself, and that's mainly because of time. I have to focus so much of my effort towards my clients that I really fall short on marketing my own business. So right now I'm really only marketing myself on my social media accounts. I have Facebook and Instagram for my business, and then I have a personal Twitter account that I use to market my services. I do a little bit of advertising. I just placed an ad in one of the Center County Gazette publications. But at this point, most of my business has been totally referral based. So I got a few really great clients when I first moved here last April that, were really happy with my services and were nice enough to let other businesses know about my services.
So did you reach out to them when you started your business? Like your first clients?
Typically, something that I always implement for my clients' marketing strategies is making sure that we're reaching out to their clients and asking them to post reviews and do different things like that. And I never really had to do that. And I kind of got lucky in that way that, they were just so excited for the growth that they had seen that they were just talking about my services anyway. But I do regularly send out an email to my clients and my followers that say, hey, if you really enjoyed this, please leave me a review on Facebook or Google or whatever it may be. And those reviews tend to get a lot of views and people contacting us. So I think you were first.
When it comes to working with clients, do you prioritize one social media site overall?
I do, because local small businesses only have the resources to use Facebook. That's where a majority of our management goes right now, which is not the most glamorous to be managing. We certainly prefer to manage Instagram, but a lot of small business owners just aren't ready to go there yet. Yeah.
Do you feel like you work a 9 to 5 or like you're always checking social media? Because you said that like during Christmas, like that was when.
Yeah, so that's actually really interesting because I have a blog also on the side, and it's called Life Disconnected. And the whole purpose of the blog is to promote disconnecting from digital. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. So something that's interesting about me as a small business owner and as specifically a social media manager is that I don't get any notifications sent to my phone. I don't have email notifications. I don't have social media notifications. I only get text messages and phone calls on it. So I have to open those apps. I have to be willing to see those messages to engage with them. And, when I take time off, I take time off. I'm gonna go to Maryland right after I leave here, and I'm staying with my best friend down there. And I'm not gonna check any of my clients' accounts until tomorrow morning. And that's something that they know getting into business with me is that that's part of my business model. And, if part of the reason why I started a business was because if I want to go sit with my laptop on the beach next week, I'm going to do it. I do have Lydia and Melanie, my two helpers, that, are going to be watching pages for me while I'm off and things like that, watching out for emergencies. But part of my business model is disconnecting too. Yeah.
So would you say that your clients are kind of year round and permanent, or would you say that they're seasonal? Or do you have some contracts that are temporary, I guess?
I don't really have any contracts that are temporary, but there are a few businesses that certainly lend themselves more to seasonal business. For example, Reynolds Mansion. There's not a whole lot to do in central Pennsylvania if you come here to stay here. If you're not visiting your kid that goes to Penn State, or if you're not